In this episode, I talk about the logical incoherence of government. And there are a number of angles that I take and a number of questions that I ask, but really there is one major underlying question that we have to deal with when it comes to the legitimacy of government. I personally like to use an example from Noah Worcester's book, Solemn Review on the Custom of War, which is really a pacifist pamphlet, but the analogy ends up working out kind of the same here in terms of legitimacy for government. So, what the pamphlet essentially says in one of its sections is, imagine that there's this family and they have this dispute with this other family. Like, the two fathers have a dispute, and the one guy ends up killing the other guy. Be like, that's crazy. Like, that's not good. That's not legitimate. Okay. 10 families have a dispute with 10 other families, and now they decide to use violence on the other group. Um, right? Who wins? Is that the person who's right, or is that just not an appropriate method to use? Okay, what about 100 families? What about 1,000 families? And you kind of get the point. Like, at some point, you're talking about nation level numbers here. If 350 million Americans fight 150 million Russians, does that make it right just because the numbers are bigger? So we sort of talked about this concept in one of our previous episodes where we talk about David Hume and Edmund Burke and their ideas of government and its legitimacy. But essentially, it comes down to what makes a government legitimate. And what we find are that governments are born in one of two ways. Way number one, they wrest power almost always through violence from some other group who has wrested power by violence for them to become a government in the first place. Or number two, if you're just starting a government from scratch in some place, you get a group of people where a majority um, threatens or overpowers or looms over a minority of people and imposes their will on that minority. So whether you domineer power over or you wrest power from, no matter how you do it, government does not have legitimate authority. Talk about a number of other reasons that government's authority is illegitimate, but you'll have to check out the full episode for all of that.